better. You know, when you are a teenager, you know everything. And when you're a young culture, you know everything. I mean, you know, it's been I mean, it really has been wonderful to be an American and to be allowed to educate the rest of the world.
You're welcome.
Cool.
Thank you.
Yes, question right down here.
About the water and what they put in the water. I grew up in Australia.
Oh, yes.
And we had tank water, so we didn't have any additives in our water. I'm 26, almost 27, never had a cavity, not even in my
Wow.
life, never had a root canal, never had to go to the dentist for anything other than a checkup. So I don't understand why they feel the need to put these things in when...
Yeah, good question. You've never been... Do you eat oranges? Do you have citric acid?
Yeah, I eat oranges, I've just never...
Do you cram candy right in your molars and let that rot overnight at Christmas time like I did?
No?
No. Okay, so why did we put fluoride in the
why
water?
do we put things in the water to supposedly protect our teeth when it's obviously not that necessary?
Well, you know, this is where I become a little bit of a conspiracy theorist. I mean, I don't tend towards the conspiracy. I like good stories. I sometimes feel I was put on this planet to do battle with pharmaceutical industry. And you know, I look around and I see a whole lot of money spent marketing drugs that solve things that don't exist in the first place.
Yes.
You know, here's a cure for something that isn't real, and that's how I felt about the swine flu vaccine. You know, I mean, I thought it was interesting, all these deaths reported from it. Fewer deaths from the flu that year by tens of thousands than any other year on record. Because I would imagine everybody was so worried about the swine flu that people weren't fear-driven into illness about another strain of the flu. I mean, this is where I really tend towards the conspiracy angle on it, because I just see a huge corporation that has, industry that has so much power, and that's what they do. They put all their research and development money into curing things that don't exist, because after all, they're not spending any time curing anything that does exist.
Yeah, it's restless leg syndrome. That's another one. I can get a pill for my restless leg, which I just call having energy. Isn't that?
Yeah, it is.
Do I really need a pill to kill
From
that
all that
leg?
candy you keep
it's
shoving into your teeth.
It's energy.
You know what?
All the candy you keep shoving into your teeth.
That'll be it. The
Oh,
sugar
that's
level.
what it is. Right, if I just stop that, I don't need the restless leg syndrome pill. Oh, okay, solved it. Yeah, your question.
Talking about swine flu,
Yeah.
I don't actually know. Sorry,
No.
I don't actually know anybody who's had swine flu. Does anybody actually know somebody who's suffered it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so
No.
five.
A few.
That helps. So that's why we have these Q&As, just to learn.
And so it's interesting, and you're
Shoot
here.
down, you know.
And you're here. How did you survive it? I mean, it was...
Well, you know someone.
Huh?
A good job.
Well, no, I mean,
Swine flu was actually not as bad as normal flu.
Right. It was a lesser version, but everybody had to get vaccinated more.
and the stuff that they put in these vaccines,
Gave it you.
I mean,
Yes.
formaldehyde, my favorite. Yeah.
So,
Two great tastes in one.
yeah.
Oh, I never actually got vaccinated.
You know.
So,
Well, you know, it was interesting. We were, I think, right around the time when we were in Berlin and that question came up, and I talked about it, it was very interesting because the parliament here actually issued a stern rebuke of the pharmaceutical industry, basically saying, stop making up real cures to phony diseases.
Yeah.
And that same week that Parliament issued that rebuke was the week that our president, Barack Obama, ordered Americans to go get the vaccine. And it was, as Alex Jones said, very interesting that, you know, when it was found out that the German government was telling their populace to take the vaccine, and then, but internally they were all saying, you know, we shouldn't take this vaccine. And again, it becomes this question, like I said, with 9/11 and you know, military contractors and this, how can we know what to believe when there is just so much money being made off of us?
Right. And then that comes back to your internal truth and how we all connect and ideas of noetic science and stuff.
And the answer is tank water.
Tank water. You won't have cavities.
Although I did live in Yakima for 6 months.
You did live in Yakima. Oh, so those giant radars and stuff were just blurting out the... So you had concentrated ozone for 45 seconds. Well, nothing to do with the tank.
Do we have another question?
Yeah, one more question. Over here.
Hi. I appreciate your opinion on 9/11, but personally I do think it's important that we know who did it. Like, I don't know that it will never change anything, and it's already happened, but the amount of evidence that's stacking up against the American government's official lie is outstanding, and the fact that at the moment in California, Senator Mike Gravel is actually putting his name to the new ballot initiative for 9/11 Truth. Do you guys think that, you know, even though it's not going to change anything that's happened, that a new investigation is important?
Is it important? I think, well, I mean, this is the whole concept of truth, right? How do you know what is true and what is false, and what do you get? You know, this was the whole thing about conspiracy. The thing about being a conspiracy theorist is that you get to go, I told you so. At the end of it, it still happened. I mean, still there's stuff in the water. But you go, oh, I knew that 5 years ago. Well, great. I mean, that, you know, there was this limiting thing, which was also the motivation to do this documentary. What's the moving forward from being a conspiracy theorist to taking that information and coalescing it into a better future? And so, while I think it'd probably be great, I also think that it is keeping us in that same story. And you know, and it's a 10-year anniversary, as like Phil said, and we're going to be telling that same story again. So
I think on the one hand, you know, with the government, you know, we call it this monolithic thing, the government, and it's really people. And I'm sure I have compassion for people in the government, that it's got to be really hard, and it's got to be particularly hard when people distrust you just on the basis of the fact that you're in the government.
right.
And at the same time, that you've got to understand that conspiracy theories exist because people lie. So, you know, if you really have a hard time and find it frustrating, then make sure you don't lie. And eventually you will get the reputation of someone, again, who is authentic and has integrity and is trustworthy. I think with 9/11, you know, a crime was committed. So it is important always, I think, that we investigate crime and try to find out how it happened, why it happened, bring the people responsible to justice, make precautions to prevent something from happening again, often through maybe education as much as punishment. But 10 years after the fact, I mean, a criminal investigation was never allowed to take place. And that's really, for me, if we want to believe that they were motivated by X-Files type storylines, how about instead of bringing down the towers, the fact that, you know, in the X-Files, every single episode was how, as a government investigative body, you get manipulated into not investigating it as a crime. Right? Oh, no, we'll use military tribunals instead of actual police procedures or criminal investigations. And 10 years after the fact, boy, the trail is so cold. And there's also another part of me that feels that, you know, we're never going to know. We're never going to know because of the fact that the trail is so cold, that the evidence no longer exists, and that just the constant perpetration of and perpetuation of these conspiracy theories still somehow plays into their hands.
Right.
Because it keeps us distracted
And
from
fearful,
something,
and
you know,
yes.
without ever being able to prove anything. So.
Wow. Now,
That was dark.
That was
dark.
Now, the thing is, they gave me a time.
Oh, they did?
They gave me a time and said that, like, and we've kind of gone past that time, but
Oh,
there
okay.
isn't anybody official doing the wind-up signal. Oh, no,
There it
she
is
is
right
now.
there.
So you're doing it.
So how
Oh, I
about
thought she just had a really big question.
I got a big question. Oh, wind it up. I said, yeah.
You know what, because we are over time,
Yes.
and because they do actually do other things here at BFI.
Oh,
Yeah, they do. They're going to kick you out now.
So, ladies and gentlemen,
Oh.
I feel we are very great honour to have you guys here.
Thank you so much.
Dean,